recording. All right. Okay, so next Thursday will be our first midterm. So the plan is that I will release the questions in a PDF file at 2 o'clock, and then you will download the PDF file and print it out. So on each page, I have left space for you to fill in the blanks or to write down your answer, or to fill up the code, the pseudocode, and you will need to scan it or take a picture of it and put it into a complete Word document to submit it to Canvas. Okay, so I found a chat question. Okay, so this slide is not currently posted, but I will record this. I'm recording this video currently, and it will be a very short slide, and we'll upload it later real quick. It is okay to write the answer on a notebook paper, yes. Yeah. Yeah, but yes, for doing that, you need to indicate which answers correspond to which question. I was thinking about that we open up Zoom for doing the exam, but considering that there's some difficulty for some students don't have time for the real-time test, so I'm not going to do that, but you need to finish the exams within a fixed amount of time. So I'm thinking about the original class time plus 30 minutes. That is what I practiced before in previous semesters. Okay, so let's start. Yeah, there's 3:45. It should be 3:45. Yes. Okay. So what will be covered? Recurrence will be covered. Okay. So basically, you need to have the idea of what a recurrence is, and you should know how to draw recursion trees based on a recurrence. Okay, and also know how to derive the recurrence from a recursive algorithm. Okay, say if you spot a recursive call in the algorithm, and you will know that there should be a recurrence that's describe the algorithms, and also you basically need to decide how many what are the coefficients within that recurrence equation by noticing how many recursive calls are there in the algorithm. Okay, and master theorem, you need to know how to use it to solve a recurrence. Okay, but you don't need to know how to prove it. So that's about the recurrence. And for the pseudocode, you will need to know the coding conventions in the pseudocode of our pseudocode. So it is basically following the same convention that we use in the lectures materials for different kinds of algorithms, like the if-else, condition. It could be threefold or twofold, and the for to loop, the for loop, it could have a keyword two to indicate the starting condition and the ending condition, and the while loop, okay, and the binary numeric operators like the Boolean operators doing the comparison, okay, is also a convention that you need to know. And so something that is important, but I didn't emphasize too much in the lecture is that the for loop, by default, the for loop will go one step, or the counter, or the loop counter for the for loop will increases by one each time within each iteration. And but for another kind of more flexible loop structure, like the while loop, we can basically specify the step of the while loop, right? So for example, in this demo here, we let the I increments by 2 within each iteration of a while loop, okay? So you can basically consider how many iterations has been executed in this code. So I will start with 0, right? And the next value of I will be 2 and then 4, okay? And when it reaches the 100, right? It's no longer satisfy the while condition. So, but the actual the iteration for I equals 100 is not executed because it's already the 100 already violates the loop condition, the while loop condition. Okay, and next, okay, so because we basically don't cover the sorting algorithms, but for the merge sort and the insertion sorts, we talk about in the first lecture and in the divide and conquer lecture. These are two important algorithms that you need to know well. Okay, so especially for merge sorts, you should know the merge sorts and the merge procedure, how they work. Okay, and you know, there's one question in the assignments about the binary search, right? So it asks for implementation with recursive and a non-recursive styles, and that is also something important because the binary search already, so I already put the kind of the solution to the binary search problem here, but I'm going to include a more detailed one in later today after the lecture. So these are something you need to know, get to be familiar with, okay? And lastly, I would like to mention what will not be covered, okay? So first of all, loop invariance. We use that technique to analyze the correctness of algorithms, right? So in the insertion sort, we have statements as a looping invariant that we need to check whether that statement is true before the iteration, and whether that statement holds true after each iteration before the next iteration starts, and if that statement is true after all the iterations. So these kind of techniques will not be covered. It's not required to it will not be covered in the midterm. And also substitution methods that I think we have already had enough practices in assignments. So I'm not going to include it in the assignments in the first midterm as well. Yes, substitution method is a way to strictly prove that certain upper bounds applies to certain recurrence equations. Okay, but I think it is the recurrence notation is just a one branch, belongs to one branch of the algorithms families. It's just a useful tool to describe the divide and conquer algorithm. So I think at this point, I'm not going to spend too much time in the midterm exam for testing the mathematical proof of solving recurrences with mathematical with substitution method, because we have limited time. I think there will be more interesting questions in other about other knowledge. Okay, so the sorting algorithms will not be covered. So everything in the about quick sort, heap sort, or linear time sorting algorithms will not be covered. Okay. How are people testing accommodation applied? So for that question, how are people testing? I did receive several paperwork about the accommodation for testing. So because the campus is closed, I don't think it's okay if you go to that accommodation testing center. I'm not sure about that. So if you have question, could you email or call the accommodation or students testing center to see what their answer is? So they probably need to know the required time. They will probably send me emails and I will let them know. So as far as I understand, they will provide like a 1 hour extension to whoever requires that, applies for that extension. I don't know. Sorry, I forgot the detailed number here. The midterm, like it is open notes. You can read read the slides. All slides can be used. Okay, but there should be no usage of internet. Okay, I know that is beyond my control, but that is the requirements. Okay, that is something in the honest code. You should not use internet to search for solutions. And lastly, I think there's one point. I won't have questions regarding the strict proofs of the big theta, big O, big omega. So I will have some questions in the final and not in the first midterm. Okay, so mainly because the same reason we had practice in the quiz and also in the first assignment. So I'm not going to have some questions regarding to the big theta, big O, and the big omega. And we have 2/3 of the semester to go. So I think it'll be a good idea to review such content at the end of the semester. Okay, so what chapters will be covered? Let me take my textbook. So the textbook, if you look at the first section, which is foundations, introduction and getting started. Introduction, chapter 1, getting started, chapter 2, and growth of functions. That is a growth of functions is something that I said I will not have questions that ask for the proof of those asymptotic notations, but it is important to understand them. So I would say that chapter 3 is also required, and divide and conquer will be required. Okay, and there will be no other chapters covered here. Yeah, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. And people, yeah, 1.5 times testing time. Thanks for the clarification. And there's a question about how many questions are on the midterm. Let me see. It's about 5 or 6 questions. 5 questions, and they are not different. They are not evenly, like absolutely evenly distributed, but there's not too much deviation. Okay. And because the big questions, I make sure they consist of small steps. Okay. And basically in increasing order in terms of difficulty. Okay. I put the easier ones as smaller as earlier sub problems. All right, so if you have applied for the accommodation at the beginning of the semester, and I think I have signed several documents, and if you have concerns, let me know, and I will apply for the 1.5 times or 2 times, which I need to check based extension on the testing time. So the quiz question are so far mostly I would say like true or false or multiple choices, or there are some also other fill in the blanks ones. They are kind of similar, but I think it's of a higher difficulty level than quiz questions. And the overall speaking, assignment 1, I think it's the difficulty is at a bit higher end. So the first midterm, I would say it will be overall speaking easier than the assignment 1. So what was the slide before? What will not be covered? So before what will not, if I understand it, the sorting algorithms will not be covered. And everything before sorting algorithms will be covered. Do you think all the allocated time will be required to finish the midterm? Well, in my experience, some people submitted earlier and some people used all the time. Yeah, from 2 to 3:45, right? Yeah, the slide before the one I'm screening right now is about the heap sort. So heap sort will not be covered in the first midterm. Okay. Okay, so I will not provide more detailed practice problems. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I'm gonna end the lecture today. And could you do problem? Okay, please let me know what the problem is. Well, I'm gonna actually release the solution to the homework one. Okay, so basically I'll have some handwritten solutions which I need to scan into a document, and I can upload the solutions to before the end of the day. Okay. Number 16. Jackson, I see your questions. So I will talk about that question, and I will have a solution included in my handwritten solution. And I'm gonna upload it later. Okay. All right. See you guys. I will upload the lectures, two sections basically, heap sorts and the review section too. And thank you, and have a good day.